If you enjoy movies, comic books, and pop culture, be sure to like and subscribe.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the REC Podcast, brought to you by REC Comics and Collectibles. I'm your host, Roman Chavez, and with me as always,
Erik.
Erik!
What's up?
You can check us out on the gram at REC Podcast. You can follow myself at Roman REC Podcast. You can follow Erik anywhere. You're really here just at the shop. And you can also come check out the shop at 7679 North Union Boulevard in Colorado Springs, Colorado, or check us out at REC Comics as well. On the ones and twos, on the big screen, the big tuna. We gotta give this flowers. Have you been? How's the week going?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. You seem a little tired. You okay?
Mm-hmm.
You need a little sugar?
No.
You need a little sugar? All right. We had a birthday party for my girls this weekend, and we had a petting zoo.
That's what I heard.
And
that's the rumor.
And I wish you had been able to go, because you would have, dude. It stressed me out like you wouldn't believe. Like, it was like a donkey, a llama, 2 sheep, a goat, I think a little pony. It was like 7 animals.
Right.
And like right off the bat.
How many did AJ have sex with?
At least 2.
Okay,
at least
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
He's getting old. I mean, you can't,
But in a way that would surprise you.
Right.
And but right when they got the donkey in there, it was like biting the sheep, and it was like freaking out. And I was like, and like some of the kids were outside, and I was like, all right, guys, let's go back in. But in like 5 minutes, the animals chilled out. The kids had a great time. No animals died. The 110-pound woman who was like corralling the animals. She had
like the Trent gun?
No, she didn't, man. I was worried, but she didn't. She knew what she was doing. She was sweeping up the poops.
Oh, yeah, that's a biggie, man.
Dude, it was a huge biggie. So, super fun. It was great. Quantum Mania, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh, yeah, that's a good segue. I like it.
Because
it does remind me of a donkey biting a sheep. That's more interesting than Quantum Mania.
Well,
to me,
it hit Disney Plus this week.
Yes.
All right.
Uh-huh.
And I obviously I went back and rewatched it. I don't know if you're going to give yourself that opportunity, but your boy, when we all went and watched it together, man, I eat a lot of snacks and I drink a lot of soda. Erik's always telling me not to drink so much soda, but I get so excited, and I left several times to potty. Dude, I missed a lot of that movie. Like, cool stuff, man. Like, I missed the whole Scott Lang versus Kang fight. Like, I showed up and he was bloody, and I was like,
oh, man. I didn't know you. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm so stupid. But, no, so that stuff made me enjoy the movie a little bit more. It still has its issues, but at least I think the action it's a good popcorn movie.
Sure.
The Kang stuff still gets me really excited. Up to a point, but again, he was bested by Scott Lang and the Wasp.
Yes, his daughter.
And it's like those other freaking Kangs are worried about this dude, and he got beat by several generations of Van Dyne.
That's true, man. Yeah.
And then several generations of Lang. This was. Again, you didn't really establish his character to be as terrifying. I do like his unhingedness, which he's a method actor. It seems to possibly be playing into his real life a bit. But I was very... you need those action beats. So if you missed any action beats in the theater like I did, definitely give it another watch, because, man, there were some really cool fights that I missed. Some really cool fights that I missed. On that...
who didn't miss the action beats was his girlfriend.
Kang beats. We've been following the possibility of Jonathan Majors being let go from the Marvel franchise. It's all rumor and speculation at this point due to his possible domestic abuse, allegedly this and that. Don't sue us, yada yada. But some thoughts have been kicking around. The big thing is, do you replace Jonathan Majors? Do we need to stick with the Kang? Because really, besides that little credit scene with the spoilers with the Council of Kangs, I mean, that version of Kang is kind of done. Like, we can just be done with him.
Good.
There's been some talk of John Boyega of Star Wars shame, not fame, who played Finn in Star Wars. Wasn't bad, just character, just the story sucked. He's got a good look. He's a character who may be able to be looking to get that Marvel paycheck.
Sure.
What do you guys think about replacing Jonathan Majors, if that is a possibility?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, like, obviously a lot of this is speculation and rumor. I think John Boyega's name is thrown out there because the recency of the Star Wars trilogy, and you know, it's gotten, you know, a lot of play on Disney Plus. I highly doubt that they're thinking of names right now, other than the fact that they are thinking, if anything's being considered, it's whether or not to keep Majors. I don't even think they're entertaining the thought of who they're going to replace him with, because it's a foregone conclusion. If you're going to replace him, you're going to have to find somebody else. If you don't replace him, you don't even need to think about it. So I highly doubt that a lot of those higher ups are like getting deep into like the possible casting. But here's the thing. So Hollywood is a lot like politics, and it's all based on precedent, right? When it comes to someone being accused of something, some impropriety or what have you, often, you know, it's step down, it's get out of the spotlight, it's bad publicity and these things. But we've seen, politically speaking, in the last 25 years, give or take or so. I'm trying to get to the late 90s, if you know where I'm going with this. When politicians are involved in some kind of scandal, the idea, you know, they quietly go away, you know, that happens, and their career is done. The ones that stick it out typically are not done at that point. They tend to still have careers. The reason I think this ties into Hollywood is because The Flash is going to come out in about 25 days. And there is so much said about Ezra Miller's, like list of criminal activity and alleged, all of these things happening, like multinational. This guy's like the pit bull of crime. He's like Mr. Worldwide. And yet, what did Warner Brothers do? They didn't recast him. Yes, there were some delays, and it seemed like at least one of the delays was not COVID related. That it was like it's Ezra related. Yeah. Another pandemic, if you will. But you know what? The movie's going to come out, and honestly, I don't think a lot of people are going to say, I'm not going to watch The Flash because of these accusations. You know, when Kang Dynasty is supposed to roll around, Secret Wars, when those movies hit, we're talking about 2-3 years from now. Anything that comes about, even if there is a guilt or there's a settlement or some kind of plea bargain and there's community service, I'm sorry, like, everyone has such a short attention span for scandal and controversy. There will be another Hollywood slip-up. It'll be much more major than Jonathan Majors' activity. I very well could see Jonathan Majors and possibly Marvel also thinking, you know what, let's ride this out. Like, keep your nose clean, keep your name out of the headlines and these things and what have you, and this may settle itself. So if I was a betting man, and I lost a bet earlier today about whether or not I'd say that in this episode, I would say I don't think Jonathan Majors leaves the role. I think they don't recast him. I think Marvel sticks with it, regardless of what comes out. Now, obviously, if there's some egregious, if there's attempted murder or something, ripping mattress tags off or something, then that would definitely change the scenario. But I think with the accusations, with where things stand right now, with what's publicly known, I think Majors weathers the storm.
Interesting.
I agree with that.
But you also have to remember we have Loki season 2 this year. Mm-hmm. And Jonathan Majors is going to have at least some role in there as Victor Timely. And maybe he's just in that one bit that we saw at the end of Quantumania. But it seemed like they're hunting Kang or...
Yeah, I think he's going to be a big part of that. So I don't know why they would pretty much preview that show if he's not going to be the main antagonist.
And he was... he still hasn't caught too much heat. People still saw Creed. People still watched, I guess they didn't watch as much Quantumania as Marvel would have liked. But I'm excited about Loki season 2. It's in the can. It's supposed to debut at some point this year, and we'll see. Jordan touched on it quickly there in the Flash and all of that. That the writer's strike is going on. We've touched on it briefly an episode or two ago. I kind of expected it to have been, handled right now. It's always about wages, compensation. A big subject is AI, is whether or not AI can write things or ad-lib things, create things, and we're in a whole different ball game there, kids. A lot of ins, a lot of outs that I don't fully understand, but always wages are in there. When things go, it was a big deal how streaming was developed, and a lot of writers they don't get the same residuals for doing a show like that versus doing something on a network. Right. So they're trying to figure out all of these things. I thought it would be settled by now, but we're going to see this affect many, we'll see this effect ripple for what? at least 2 years. What year was the most recent one? Was it 2007?
Yeah.
There was a writer's strike. At that point, it cut several seasons of shows, most notably, I believe, season 4 of Supernatural for Roman. And it drastically affected the way that story was told. It was still told well, but you could tell they rushed a lot of it because it went from like a 22 to 24 episode to a 16 episode season. But we saw it throughout all the shows, and then while it takes a little while for movies to catch up, they eventually do. Things like Olympus Has Fallen and White House Down, and there was there was another one like that. Bodyguard, presidential type movie, where you have a lot of the same type of things because they have these like shelved projects that they're like, maybe we'll make this, maybe we won't, because they can make it without the writers being involved.
Right.
Why that pertains to us here in our little comic book world is because Deadpool 3 started filming, I think yesterday as of this recording, and there were some stipulations that Ryan Reynolds can not rewrite things on the set right now. He is apparently allowed to ad-lib to whatever point that means, but he is not allowed to write things that affect the story. Do you have anything that you can elaborate on that, Big Tuna, or is that pretty much the gist of it?
As a member of the Guild... No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, so there's a lot of conflicting information. With some of this stuff, the legality, the technicalities, some of it can be pretty hard to track. There did seem to be a lot of pretty high-ranking Twitter accounts, my peeps, my informants, where, my ear to the ground, as it were. They seem to be suggesting that the discrepancy when it comes to ad-libbing and not ad-libbing really comes down to the story. What seemed to be suggested, there were some Twitter accounts that were saying, it's going to be cardboard language because there's not going to be any creativity in these things. I did see someone's post where they said, what makes Ryan Reynolds great is how he ad-libs. Here's the thing. You're watching the movie when it's done. Yes, there's going to be B-roll. Yes, there's outtakes and these things. But generally speaking, it's very difficult for the viewing audience to really be able to tell what's been ad-libbed and what hasn't been, right? Or what's been kind of workshopped, or, they're between shoots, or, and they talk about this or that, or what if I say it like this, how would you respond? I'm sure that stuff happens, right? The consensus seems to be that at least for the Deadpool project, this might be extrapolated out as part of the union rules with the Writers Guild of America, that the ad-libbing can take place if it's a spin on a joke or a line, but not anything that affects the story. The story then essentially kind of someone likened it to the Back to the Future time travel, where if you make a change, you create a new timeline. And so that would require the involvement of the writers. I think a lot of people, myself included, before the previous writer strike, my belief was someone sits down, they write a story, They then shoot the movie, and that's pretty much it. As I've learned a lot more about the industry and how movies are produced, I realize how much more involved writers are. One thing that you'll notice when you watch usually the opening credits is where it's more pronounced in movies, is that when you see writers mentioned with an ampersand, that squiggly and symbol, between names, that's a writing team. The word "and" signifies that another team or another person then retooled or reworked. So you might see a script based, from Jonathan and Christopher Nolan with an ampersand between them, and then the word and someone else, meaning that they then tweaked it, made adjustments, and those could be taking place during production. Those people then get sometimes a writing or a producer credit of some kind. That stuff gets worked out, all with the lawyers and stuff. I think that the concern about how much this is going to affect Deadpool 3, to be honest, it's going to be minimal. I think that they've been working on this for a while. They've had 2 very successful movies with these characters. I think that I highly doubt that they went into Deadpool 3 getting ready to shoot when this strike happened with a movie that's essentially a dud on paper that needs that Ryan Reynolds magic to make it come alive. I think especially when you bring back writers and you're writing a specific character, when you're writing a character like Deadpool, who I think would be incredibly hard to write for, I mean, you got to think, how do we make this character tell, funny jokes? How do they how much do they reference break the fourth wall? All that stuff is much more difficult to do well. And I believe that the people that put together these writing teams and what have you, they have their finger on the pulse of what's made this Deadpool with Ryan Reynolds successful.
Yeah.
Again, I think probably the biggest way that we're going to see the writer's strike affecting these projects will be in some of the delays that come about. Roman mentioned Supernatural. Friday Night Lights was a big hit. That was impacted by the writer's strike. They pretty much cut out half of the season, and the season ended without any of the championship stuff. The next season pretty much explains everything that was going to happen. Lost also took a huge hit. Their season 4, I believe it was cut down from their normal 22-23 to something like 15. And that was the season that literally the island began time traveling. That's where they really needed to flesh out that stuff. And they didn't. The Office. Also did also suffered, and it's weird because you kind of go back and you kind of are like, I think this is writer's strike. You'll look it up and you're probably right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do think, again, just to recap, some of this stuff, there might be some technicalities, some minutia in what cannot be done. But ultimately, I think with a lot of these big projects, especially with movie releases, they're so far planned out. That's one thing. But when you've got NBC, ABC, all these platforms. August and September are rolling around. They need product. They need new shows. These networks, they cancel 2/3 of their shows every season.
Yeah.
Right? They need fresh blood coming in. And you can push off a movie. You can push off a movie, and you can push off a movie. Warner Brothers might get desperate and say, we're gonna release Batgirl now." But again, you can only do NBC can only do Office reruns so long. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that shakes out.
Eric, when you've seen, I know you followed the music industry a lot, and obviously there's so many stories of just musicians being taken advantage of, not getting what they deserve. Mm-hmm. Has there ever been an attempt to unionize the music industry that you've heard of? No. Is that something that they should do, or is that would that kill creativity?
I don't know. I'm not sure on that. I don't know that the business parts of music.
Gotcha. Yeah. You just know the horror stories.
Just the horror stories.
Yeah, I get the I get that this needs to happen, that they need to get fair things, but man, these collective bargaining agreements between these unions, it's just you're making so much money. Just if you gave these guys enough, but maybe enough is never enough.
Right.
You know, I don't know. It raises a lot of questions, and I just hope it doesn't delay too much. But maybe we need another little reset to kind of, Victoria Alonso's gone. We got to reset some things, get some things right, polish those balls, as known.
Yeah.
And to that point, getting that final flash, that final polish. Mm-hmm. We've got a final sneak peek of the Flash film, with some really interesting footage. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. We will be talking spoilers about it. There's something that could not be affected by anything else but Ezra Miller. We got to see some more footage of Keaton, which I didn't think we were going to see. Jordan made a point that we don't really know what the story is of this version of Flashpoint. We know some bits, but we don't know, since this is going to be the end of the Snyderverse. Are we going to end with a bang? Are they going to? I think Jordan. I think you should put out your big theory, your hypothesis about Batman, or have you already said that on the show?
I'm not sure now.
Okay. Yeah, just reiterate for me about your Batman theory.
My Batman theory. How would you read it? I'm trying to remember my Batman theory now. I kind of feel like maybe I did mention it, and now I'm nervous that I mentioned it, but I'm not remembering the Batman.
All right, the Batman theory was that he thought there was going to be a No Way Home-esque moment where Michael Keaton is not just he says, "You guys want to get nuts?
Yes,
Let's
yes,
get nuts."
Okay.
All right, you want to take back over?
Okay, yes,
Jesus.
okay, yes. I'm sorry.
Keep this whole ship straight.
So yeah, whenever you watch these trailers, even this most recent Flash one, you'll see sometimes characters are talking and their mouths don't really line up. It's kind of a little bit of like a Jackie Chan sort of scenario because they're trying to truncate the dialogue, right? So you'll take a character who's yelling at somebody and you'll tone down it, you'll slow it down a little bit so that line can be used as dubbed over in the trailer. There's some shots of Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne, talking like Barry, like you're going back in time and these things. It doesn't really match up exactly. Zod also is like, this world must end. It doesn't really look like his mouth is saying that. A couple of weird things like that. But one thing that was really clear in the most recent kind of full theatrical trailer, and Keaton's looking right at the camera as he says it. He's in his Bat costume. He's not wearing the cowl though. As he says the iconic line, you want to get you want to get nuts. Let's get nuts, right? So I had this crazy theory. It's not going to happen, but I tell you, if this does happen, this will be absolutely insane. If Snyderverse is going out with a bang, they're showing us a couple of Batmen already with Ben Affleck, Keaton. It doesn't look like they're going to share any screen time. It looks like Ben Affleck is going to be all the Ben Affleck action that we see looks like it's from one sequence. Keaton, we're seeing a few different things, so I think he's going to be kind of the driving character. We're going to see breaking out Supergirl, the showdown in the desert with the Kryptonians and these things.
It's hot in that Bat costume.
I'll tell you, man. This is super nuts. You want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts. Here we go. I think my absolutely crazy off the wall theory. Maybe it's the post credit, which is weird because it's in the trailer. So if it's not there, everyone's gonna be waiting for it. Is that Keaton saying that line about "you want to get nuts, let's get nuts" is to like the pantheon of live action Batman actors. Like I want to see Clooney. I want to see Christian Bale. I want to see Val. However
just
they do
bumming
that.
us out.
Yeah.
Just really bringing the whole thing down.
Yeah.
This is the Batman that smoked.
Batman Kazansky. Like that would just be cool. And again, it goes nowhere.
A digital Adam West.
Maybe a digital Adam West. Like, honestly, like I would actually be sad if they didn't include a digital Adam West. Like as much as some people hated Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One, like it's close. It's close enough that in a Batcave, like I could buy that's Adam West. And it would be 100% fan service. It goes absolutely nowhere. None of these Batman likely will be used again on film. We're going to get a new younger Batman, the Brave and the Bold. We're getting a second Batman with Matt Reeves, who just posted on Twitter. He was at the WGA strike line, I think outside Warner Brothers, actually. But yeah, just it would be absolute fan service. It'd be super insane. And like now, part of me is gonna be a little disappointed when that doesn't happen. But David Zaslav, the Warner Brothers Discovery executive, was giving the commencement speech at Boston University. Was giving the commencement speech at Boston University. Did not get received too well. During his commencement speech, students began chanting "Pay your writers." It went on for several minutes.
Hey.
A lot of tension there. But yeah, and I did say to the crew, the cast and crew of the RSC podcast before we began filming.
These guys.
All these people. That if this trailer that recently came out is kind of like the tickets not available trailer, if this had been the original marketing, I would have been a lot more sold on the movie. I feel like they made the wrong choices. I think they tried to spoon feed in some weird stuff. I think there was too much Keaton too early on. They like tried to shoehorn this whole like Kara Zor-El sort of stuff, but like not really explaining the world that we're going to be brought into. I'm hoping that there's a lot of twists and turns. It doesn't sound like any of the showings or screenings have had the post credits that we might get. But again, you gotta be super careful online nowadays with all that jazz, unfortunately.
The post credits is just James Gunn choking Zack Snyder.
Yeah, just the neck. Yeah. I would love that. I love that more than the Keaton Batman. So.
Zaslav's just smoking while he's watching it.
yeah, like Arnold in True Lies, sitting in the dark. Yeah.
Do it to do some mode. Do it slowly. I would like the end scene to be Michael Keaton, and then all of the other Alfreds. And
Michael Go.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, Michael Caine.
Yeah, you get them all in there, and like they're the Alfreds whose Batman died. So they're here to help make sure that this Batman doesn't.
Okay.
And you got all these multiverse of, I don't know, it's ridiculous.
I like it. I'm down with that. I'm down with that.
I'm down for a page of that in a comic.
Heck yeah, man.
I'd be into that one day.
Yeah.
Eric, you've been mum today. I would love to know. You've been kind of excited. I've been a little bit more excited than I thought about The Flash. Seeing this new footage,
right.
Where are you at on that?
Oh no, I think I've been pretty pumped for it.
Yeah,
either because either it's going to be great or it's going to be a train wreck. So either way, I'm going to be entertained.
Okay. So you're okay if it's just terrible.
Oh, of course, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, if it is terrible, I think DC and Warner Bros. Look, it's the last installment in this thing.
Yeah.
You're paying for a car wreck, whatever. But if in the off chance, which I think it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, it'll be watchable.
It's following the the Spider-Man No Way Home bullet points, it seems.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's still copying Marvel, but
Yeah.
they can't lose with this layout. Plus everyone's just excited about Keaton.
Yeah.
I think that, of course, that's the big selling point.
And I'm so glad that we didn't get like some neutered version of it in Batgirl, because initially he was going to be in there as well.
Debut, yeah.
So this is going to be, but it sucks because it kind of ruins the ability to maybe do this and it mean something.
Sure.
Because it was initially, I think, meant to mean something.
Right.
And now it's not.
Right.
So I don't know. And kids, if you're interested, we do have Flashpoint #1 special
there you
edition
go.
reprints that came out this week.
Ooh, that's nice.
The start of the story. Really getting this movie going. And the first appearance of Thomas Wayne Batman, which again, such a waste that we're not going to get that in this film. However,
I know,
maybe they
right?
can use it later. Maybe they can use it later.
That's true, man. Yeah. I'd be good with that.
I would be.
I want to see that Batman.
Okay, so I'm going to spoil the new trailer. There's a line in which Barry says to Ben Affleck's Batman, like, I could save your parents.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
How nuts would it be if, like, he essentially does that, but in doing so, leads to Bruce's death, and that
Michael Keaton is Thomas Wayne?
Well, I was gonna
sorry.
say I was just gonna say how crazy would it be to get our Jeffrey Dean Morgan cameo,
right.
and that because saving Bruce's parents does not mean that Bruce lives, and that's a big focal point in the Flashpoint universe that creates the Thomas Wayne Batman and the Joker in that world.
Right.
But again, that's wish casting. Ever since they showed up in Batman vs Superman, it would have been so cool to see them in that way, in that capacity. Thomas Wayne, writing a note to give to Bruce, like that'd be so cool. But again, you're trying to fit all this into one movie. If this was Flashpoint Part 1,
yes.
and then it ends with Barry going back, and then it turns out, and then you get Barry being guided by like the Thomas Wayne in that world, that'd be super cool. But unfortunately, I think that this is the Snyderverse riding off into the sunset. I don't think we're gonna really get any sense of where the next movies are heading. It's interesting because we are getting Blue Beetle and Aquaman 2 next for DC after The Flash. But again, the announcement of all these other projects that are coming down the pipeline in the next few years, they don't seem like they're connected at all. The Superman Legacy, the Batman Brave and the Bold, Batman Part 2, Matt Reeves, Reeves-verse, the potential Clayface spin-off. There's been some rumors that that's going to be greenlit, which I don't see how that works in the Matt Reeves universe they've created, but that's the point.
That doesn't,
But so again, this is a hard spot to be when you're someone like me who has very little comic knowledge that is not found in the cartoons or the movies.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that's happened.
But you're more the everyman for that then.
Yeah.
At least you're dabbling a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't really go into a lot of these movies or watching some of these shows like knowing like, oh, in the comics it was like this or like that. But I'll tell you, a lot of this stuff is kind of feeling rudderless right now, where it's like, are we going to go in the Flash, be blown away, and be like, this is cool? It's also going nowhere.
Right.
It's a really fancy car that the engine doesn't turn over. Like, what is this going to do for the DC universe moving forward? It doesn't appear that the Flash movie is going to. I know that people have talked about it. It's like the reset and these things. I don't think any of the movie was produced to do that, and therefore I don't think any of the movie is going to do that. We might consider that the reset, but that's people. That's moving the goalposts. Mm-hmm. That's saying that this movie is going to be used to reset the universe. moving forward, I do not believe that, a year and a half ago when this movie was originally going to come out, that was the intent.
Yeah.
So because they didn't have Black Adam hadn't bombed,
Right.
Shazam 2 hadn't bombed, and now all those actors are, The Rock's doing a live action Moana. He's back in the Fast universe now, I guess. Like they're all like moving forward. They're all done with this stuff.
Yeah.
And
I wash my hands of it.
yeah, and I don't think anybody from the Flash is likely going to continue into the DCU.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it'll reset, and maybe it won't be so bad to get isolated movies, like superhero movies in its own universe.
Yeah.
And we just do a bunch of Elseworld stories. We don't. Maybe DC goes about like this doesn't need to be connected.
God, but it
all
does,
these heroes
Eric.
just need to be on their own.
Just because they can't figure it out doesn't mean we need to suffer. Okay? Figure it out. Bring in the people, pay your writers, and and let's put out some quality product. Like, yes, you fool me once, you keep doing it, and we keep shaming ourselves. If you create a universe, we will ride with you. You have to get the foundation.
I mean, the Fast and Furious have been able to do it. Come on, DC.
It's the cars, man. It's the cars.
It's family.
It's cars
It's
and
fam.
family and Vin Diesel's.
And Dom.
Dumb, dude. Toretto. He wants to reshoot. I bet you he'd reshoot Tokyo Drift. He's like, I need to be in this more. And
like,
two.
Well, they're going to do it. George Lucas thinking, like, put him in there.
Yeah, you go digitally, just add him. Like, it's not even that same white guy. It's just Toretto.
Yeah.
Like, none of it makes any sense. He's like talking to his dad, and it's clearly, Dom's way older.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Kids! That's our show. If you like what we're doing, please hit that subscribe button. Click that little bell so you know when we have new content, especially our shorts, courtesy of the Big Tuna. If you guys like what he's doing, we appreciate all the views. But check it out. Leave us some comments. Let us know what you think of those shorts. Eric, do you have any final thoughts for us today?
No, I'm just stoked for Flash, man.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Flash stoked.
Flash stoked, man.
All right.
Flashlight.
Any hot tuna takes for me?
Yeah, considering Ezra Miller's long criminal history, the fact that he hasn't committed the crime of his title role, we're probably all very fortunate for.
I agree.
Fair enough.
That's a good
Fair
point.
enough, kids. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. I've been your host, Roman Chavez.
I'm still Erik Icarus.
And for the Big Tuna, we will catch you on the next podcast.